We're now coming to the final chapters of the book of Genesis, and we're looking at the Joseph narratives. And we're going to do this in two videos. So the first one is going to take us from Genesis chapter 37 to 41, and then we'll look at the final chapters. But really, the Joseph narratives are beautiful in terms of Hebrew literature. And of course, it's such a wonderful story. And just to see what God is doing and how he's sovereignly at work, not only in the life of Joseph, but in his brothers and the whole family and what God is doing. I want to mention two books. The first book is Israel in Egypt by James Hoffmeyer, and this is such a wonderful book. If you are interested in learning anything about the Egyptian context, including some of the names and the vocabulary and Egyptian loanwords and all kinds of things, he not only talks about the book of Genesis, but also, of course, the Exodus from Egypt, which is so important too. So I would recommend that book. The other one that I'm going to mention is by Joseph in terms of Robert Longacre. Now, that is more of a technical book, and but I do mention it because it's really one of the great studies that have been done on the Hebrew narrative of the Joseph stories. And he does a lovely job showing the connection between certain vocabulary terms and so forth. So we are now looking at Genesis chapter 37, and we have been talking about the whole story of Jacob and Esau. And now this begins the new Toledoth. And notice it says in chapter 37, verse 1, Jacob lived in the land where his father had sojourned in the land of Canaan. So remember that Jacob had been living in Haran, and after 20 years, he's going to return to the land of Canaan. So that sets the context. And then we have verse 2 begins the Toledoth. So verse 1 is like a bridge, and the Toledoth begins with verse 2. These are the records of the generations of Jacob. It's immediately focusing on Joseph because his name occurs immediately after the Toledoth. So I want you to see that it is about Jacob. Of course, it's about his descendants because that's the whole storyline all the way through to the end of the book. But Joseph is particularly important in this section, and we're going to see that Judah also takes a key role. I want you also to remember that Joseph was the son of Rachel, and I'm going to give you the reference in chapter 30, verses 22 to 24. So this is important. Remember, this is the wife he loved. And Benjamin is also the son of Rachel. So because Benjamin's going to be important as we move forward in the story, and we see what Joseph does with his brothers when they come to Egypt, and he's really wanting to make sure that he gets to see Benjamin. That's a high point in the story. And of course, when he gets to see his father again as well. But just remember that this is his younger brother, and so there's a real endearment there.